Chapter 6, Section 2 is solving using substitution. The first section was using graphing, and graphing isn't always accurate. It's really hard to use large numbers. You're not going to want to graph anything that's like in the thousands. And it doesn't work really well with fractions. It's not very easy to tell on a graph 1/2 versus 1/3, etc. So we need some other methods. We're actually going to look at 3 other methods this week. The first one is solving by substitution. If you look at this first example, this says y equals and y equals. Those y's are going to have the same value. They're going to equal the same thing. So we're going to take this and put it in place of that y, and that will become x plus 3 equals 2x plus 5. And now that's an equation we know how to solve. We've solved equations like this a lot. You're going to subtract x from both sides, and you will have 3 equals x plus 5. And then subtracting 5 from both sides, you will have -2 equals x.
Or we just look at it.
So we came up with the value for x. Now we need to put that back into either one of those equations. You can pick which one you think looks easier, and I think this first one looks easier. So if we put that -2 in there, plus 3, we get 1, and our y value is 1. I'm going to skip to letter C next, because it's kind of like the one we just did. We have y equals and y equals. So we're going to take this value and put it in place of that y, and that will become 2x equals x plus 5. We are going to subtract x from both sides, and we are then left with x equals 5. And then we take that, you can put it into either one of those equations, and you will have 2 times 5, and your y value is 10. So our ordered pair, if you wrote it as an ordered pair, it would be 5, 10, or you can have x equals 5, y equals 10. Either of those two things mean the same thing. Letter B is a little bit different. We have y minus 1 equals x. We're going to take this and put it in place of the x. So you will have 4. We're going to put that whole thing in place of the x, which is y minus 1, and that is going to equal 6. Distributing, you will have 4y minus 4 equals 6. Adding 4 to both sides. Oops, I skipped the plus y, didn't I? Yeah. You have to have plus y in there. I skipped this part. So we have a plus y. 4y plus y is 5y. When we add 4 to both sides, we will have 10. So you end up with 5y equals 10. And when you divide both sides by 5, your y equals 2. And now we need to put that back into either one of those equations. I'm going to pick that top one, putting that for the y. 2 minus 1 is 1. So our x equals 1. Okay. Letter D. We have an x equals, so we're going to take this and put it in place of the x, and we will have 2y minus 4 plus 8y equals 16. Simplifying this, or combining like terms, 2y plus 8y is 10y. Minus 4 equals 16. And if we add 4 to both sides, you have 10y equals 20. So So your y is going to equal 2. To figure out the x, you're going to substitute that back in. I'm going to put it in this first equation. 2 times 2 is 4, minus 4 is 0. Now the last two examples, E and F, don't have a nice x equals or y equals, so we have to kind of manipulate these things a little bit. If you look at this first equation in example E, this y doesn't have a number in front of it, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to add 2x. And what I just changed this to then is y equals 8 plus 2x. And now I have a nice y equals. Y equals 8 plus 2x. So I can take that and put it in place of the y. So we will have 3x plus 2 times 8 plus 2x. Yep, right here, 2y. So this is where the 2 comes from.
What do you put the y?
This y equals 8 plus 2x. So I put that in place of the y. That's going to equal 9. And as we distribute, you will have 3x plus 16 plus 4x equals 9. We need to combine like terms. 3x plus 4x is 7x, plus 16 equals 9. Subtracting 16 from both sides, you have 7x equals negative 7, and your x ends up equaling negative 1. Now that we have what x equals, we can put it into any of those equations that we want. I'm going to put it in this one right here. 2 times negative 1 is negative 2, and 8 plus negative 2 is 6. So x equals 1, y equals 6. Letter F is similar to that one. With letter F, the second equation has an x with no number in front of it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add 4y. And when I do that, I will have x equals 4y plus 11. So I just changed this to x equals 4y plus 11. And now that I have the x equals, I can put that into the other equation. I can take this and put it in place of the x, and I will have 4y minus 5 times 4y plus 11 equals 9. I put that whole thing in place of the x, and this becomes 4y minus 20y minus 55 equals 9. 4y minus 20 is a subtract 16y. And I am going to add 55 to both sides. So you will have negative 16y equals 64. And when you divide both sides by negative 16, you are left with y equals negative 4. And then take that. You can put it into any of these equations. I'm going to put it into this one. 4 times negative 4 is negative 16, plus 11 is a negative 5. So your answer for that one, x is negative 5, y is negative 4. Two more examples, story problems. One high-speed internet provider has a $50 setup fee and it costs $30 per month. So that would be 50 plus 30x. The other provider has no setup fee and costs $40 per month. So that will be y equals 40x. We want to know for in how many months will the providers have the same cost. So we will do 50 plus 30x equals 40x. Solving that, you are going to subtract 30x from both sides. And you have 50 equals 10x. Dividing both sides by 10, your x equals 5. That means after 5 months they will have the same cost. The second part of that is what will that cost be? And you can put that x into any of these equations. I'm going to do y equals 40x. And if you do 40 times 5, you will have paid $200 in those fees. And the last example, only one page of notes here today. The last example, there's one almost exactly like it on your homework assignment. The length of a rectangle is 3 times longer than its width. So we're going to let the width be w, and the length is 3 times that. So the length is 3w. And I'm going to draw a little picture of this rectangle. It's going to be width 3 times the width, width 3 times the width. The second sentence in that question says that the perimeter of the rectangle is 80. The perimeter is the distance all around the outside. So we will have w plus 3w plus w plus 3w equals 80. We were given the perimeter is 80. So this becomes 8w equals 80. The width is 10. And now we need to find the length, which is 3 times